Have you ever felt like the world is upside down? That the loudest voices are often the most foolish, while the wisest people, those who could actually guide us, remain silent, invisible, forgotten? If you've ever had this thought, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not crazy. In fact, history, philosophy, and psychology all point to the same disturbing truth. The fate of society is rarely determined by the wisest among us. Instead, it is shaped by those bold enough, shameless enough, or foolish enough to seize power. And here's the terrifying part. It's not always the villains who do the most damage. Often, it's the fools. Think about it. You've probably worked under a boss who had no idea what they were doing, yet demanded obedience. You've probably seen politicians make reckless decisions, not out of malice, but out of sheer incompetence. And you've probably wondered, why do we, again and again, give power to those who are not only unworthy, but unprepared to wield it? Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German theologian who lived during the rise of the Nazis, had a haunting theory. He argued that stupidity is more dangerous than malice. Why? Because malice can be confronted, exposed, and resisted. But stupidity hides behind sincerity. A stupid person genuinely believes they are right, which makes them almost impossible to argue with. And so, they become tools, used by more cunning forces, while believing themselves to be noble. Bonhoeffer's warning was clear. Entire societies collapse not because evil is too strong, but because stupidity is too widespread. But stupidity doesn't always look like you think. It's not always ignorance. Sometimes it's arrogance dressed as certainty. Psychologists call this the Dunning-Kruger effect, the tendency for those with the least knowledge to be the most confident. In other words, the less someone knows, the more likely they are to believe they know everything. You've seen this before. The loud voice in the meeting who interrupts everyone else. The politician who makes sweeping promises without any real plan. The friend who gives advice they don't understand. Meanwhile, the wisest people, the ones who understand complexity, who see the shades of gray, are more hesitant. Socrates, the father of philosophy, once said, "I know that I know nothing, that humility is the mark of wisdom, but in a society that rewards certainty, arrogance wins while humility is punished." And this creates a tragic paradox. The people most fit to lead are often the least willing to push themselves forward. They see leadership not as a prize, but as a burden. They hesitate, they doubt, they reflect, and in that pause, the fools seize their chance. Machiavelli, who understood power better than anyone, warned of this centuries ago. He argued that it is not goodness or wisdom that guarantees influence, but the willingness to act decisively, even ruthlessly. Those who hesitate will always be outmaneuvered by those willing to play the brutal game of power. But here's where it gets darker. Nietzsche observed that people are drawn to strength, not truth. They admire confidence more than wisdom. And so, even when wisdom speaks, it is often ignored, because it does not come with the flashy certainty that fools provide. We think we want wise leaders, but when given the choice, we often follow the ones who appear strong, even if their strength is built on lies. History is filled with chilling examples. Ancient Rome fell not only to invaders, but to the decadence and incompetence of its own leaders. The French Revolution, fueled by rage against corruption, quickly replaced tyrants with fools who promised salvation but delivered bloodshed. And in the 20th century, countless societies followed men who spoke with confidence but acted with recklessness, while the wise, the reflective, the cautious were silenced, exiled, or ignored. Why? Because stupidity is seductive. It tells us what we want to hear. It speaks in absolutes. It promises easy answers to impossible problems, and we, desperate for certainty, reward it. But let me ask you something. Have you ever silenced yourself because you didn't want to sound arrogant? Have you ever held back your ideas because you weren't 100% sure you were right? Have you ever looked at the chaos of the world and thought, what's the point of speaking? No one will listen anyway. That silence, the silence of the wise, is what allows fools to rise. It's not just that stupidity speaks louder, it's that wisdom too often whispers. Bonhoeffer warned that this silence is deadly. Nietzsche went further, suggesting that being wise in a stupid society is almost a curse, because you see what others cannot or will not see, and that vision isolates you. It makes you an outsider in your own time. But here's the uncomfortable twist. The burden doesn't fall only on the powerful. It falls on you, on me, on all of us. Every time we stay silent in the face of stupidity, we feed it. Every time we let arrogance drown out humility, we strengthen it. Every time we choose comfort over truth, we hand the microphone to fools. The truth is, fools don't seize power by themselves. They are given power by societies that reward confidence over competence, certainty over reflection, noise over wisdom. And so the real question isn't, why do fools rule the world? It's, why do we keep letting them? So what's the answer? Should the wise shout louder? Should they play the game of arrogance to compete with fools? Maybe. But there's another path. Plato once envisioned a society led by philosopher kings, those who combined wisdom with power. He knew how rare this combination was, but he believed it was the only safeguard against chaos. Perhaps his dream was naive. But maybe it's not about kings. Maybe it's about individuals. Maybe it's about you. Because every society is shaped not only by its leaders, but by the everyday decisions of its people, by what we reward, what we listen to, and what we choose to believe. If we continue to reward the loudest voices, the cycle will repeat. But if we start valuing humility, reflection, and depth, even in small ways, we begin to change the balance. Here's the haunting truth, though. Stupidity will always be louder. It will always be easier. It will always be more seductive. The fight against it will never end. But maybe that's the role of wisdom. Not to win easily, but to persist quietly, to endure, to resist, to plant seeds that might not grow today, but will take root tomorrow. And maybe that's why the wisest often remain silent. Because they know the noise of fools is temporary, but truth, no matter how softly spoken, echoes through time. So the next time you feel the world is upside down, remember this. Yes, fools often rise. Yes, stupidity is dangerous, but silence is even more so. If you carry wisdom, no matter how small, the world needs you to speak it. Not arrogantly, not loudly, but clearly, persistently, relentlessly. Because the moment the wise stop whispering, the fools will never stop shouting. And history has already shown us where that leads. Now tell me, will you stay silent? Or will you speak?